The Karma music video came out tonight, the Karma remix featuring Ice Spice, and it was wonderful. But of course, I watched it 13,000 times for Easter eggs, obviously, and I made a handy dandy list of things. There's a lot on here, so let's get to it. In the opening shot, there is the Blue Moonstone Midnight's vinyl, and in the background, there's a painting of Long Pond. It says Swift in the corner. Taylor painted it. As it's spinning, there's a little bit of magic, and butterflies come out, and butterflies signify transformation, metamorphosis, also remind me of Debut, and butterflies are my favorite. Then it transforms into this mystical, different world, very surreal. And we see Taylor, and she's like Lady Justice, balancing the scales. Also Libra, and we'll come back to that. In the background, on one of the pillars, it says Karma, and it's exactly written like it is on the man wall. Right below her, it says 1989 in Roman numerals. Then we move to a different scene, and we see Taylor.
We went from the heavens down into the underworld. Here is dark Taylor. In the death of her reputation, she felt truly alive. Honey, I rose up from the dead. I do it all the time. The old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead.
All of her dancers, and they're in masks. Her mask is a ram, and a ram is a symbol for Aries. Remember how we talked about Libra earlier? They're also in black. Her hair is like slicked back, and it reminds me totally of Reputation. Her in the Look What You Made Me Do music video. She's also wearing a chain necklace, just like she is on the cover of Reputation, where she's wearing a chain choker. Very tight chain choker. Her belt, there are 6, I think they're sons, and there's 6 of them, and Reputation is her 6th album. This part's really fun. Then she moves on. She's so cute in this scene. She has like this yellow beret on and cute little braids. It's very fairy tale-esque. There's even a castle in the background. I don't know, maybe it's the Bejeweled Castle. And she's walking down a yellow road with red shoes on. Like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, a yellow brick road and her ruby slippers. In The Wizard of Oz, she is supposed to get the broom from the evil witch. And in this scene, it says, I keep my side of the street clean, you wouldn't know what I mean. And she's sweeping her side of the street with a broom. I love how that ties in. On the other side of the street, there are 3 Grim Reapers, and they are flipping her off. Now, this made me think of the 3 friends that Dorothy has. The lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow. And then I remembered her lyric, all of my enemies started out friends. I also think it's quite funny because those 3 need courage, a brain, and a heart. So if we are relating this back to Karma and her masters being stolen from her, this makes sense. It also makes sense because it reminds me of another song that she wrote about the masters situation called My Tears Ricochet, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. And in there, she says, I can go anywhere I want, just not home. And one of the main things in The Wizard of Oz is that Dorothy says, there's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. And in the end, she finally figures out that the power was inside of her the whole time. She didn't need them. Amazing. You zoom out and you see that they are in a storybook. The story of us looks a lot like a tragedy now. Now we are in an hourglass with purple sand. Of course, I'm gonna talk about Speak Now because Speak Now is my favorite, and I'm so excited that it's coming July 7th. But during Folklore, on Taylor's merch store, she sold an hourglass, an August hourglass. August slipped away into a moment of time, and it had purple sand in it. And I'll get back to these dates in a minute. Then we have the adorable lyric, Karma is a cat purring in my lap because she loves me. I think it's really funny on this part that Taylor, though, is the one on the cat's lap. She does have her hair pinned up in a way to make it look short, and she's in a blue dress, so of course I'm thinking of 1989. Then we come to Ice Spice's part, which is lovely. She is in an oyster with pearls all around, and the goddess Venus was born from an oyster. Karma is a god, and there are lots of references to different gods and goddesses throughout. They begin ascending these stairs like to the heavens, and you see the moon make like a solar eclipse, which could signify like a new beginning. And we see Taylor and Ice Spice, and both of their constellations are in the sky. So Taylor's sign is Sagittarius and her constellation is in the sky. Ice Spice's is Capricorn and hers is as well right above her. And obviously, love you to the moon and to Saturn. I don't really know a ton about Roman gods, Greek gods, other gods. So I just wrote this down. Saturn, god of time. Diana, goddess of the moon. If you know about it, know how that ties in, let me know. Throughout this whole video, they look very unbothered and like they are in power and a bit carefree, which reminded me of Seven and just the idea and premise of Seven being that like when Taylor was talking about it in Long Pond.
To please picture her before civility. Kids, when they're just so upset and outraged, it all comes out and they scream anytime they want. So relating it back to her masters, when you have that much outrage, what do you do with it? Where does it go? And that's where we come to karma. Anyway, that was one thought relating back to the Love You to the Moon and to Saturn reference.
Also, it's interesting that Ice Spice's sign is Capricorn, and Capricorn's ruling planet is Saturn, and Saturn is the planet that she lassos. Taylor in the light bulbs. I love what she's wearing. She looks so cute. I also love this hairstyle on her. It does remind me a bit of the Speak Now TV cover. Also reminded me of the Look What You Made Me Do music video when she's in the golden cage and she's wearing the orange like jumpsuit. Her hair looks similar to that. Anyway, she looks very cute. She's in a light bulb. The lyrics right there say, ask me why so many fade, but I'm still here. And when it says, ask me why so many fade, the light bulb flickers and then, but I'm still here. And that's when more of her light up and it goes to 3 and then 5. And of course, I'm thinking about Speak Now, third album, 1989, fifth album, which would line up with the Bejeweled music video where we got tons of Easter eggs for Speak Now being next, which we now know is coming out on July 7th. But we also got some Easter eggs that 1989 is coming after Speak Now. Now we have this part where Taylor is like Mother Earth in some way, whatever that might mean, and Ice Spice is in the sky. Again, I think referencing different gods, goddesses, because Karma is a god. Also reminded me of Tafiti from Moana. Now we have Taylor and Ice Spice in some sort of like ferry boat. The first thing I thought of when I saw it was like the underworld ferry, but it's like the opposite in this part. So their ferry is light pink, so Lover. And Lover is the first album that she owned. Also the pretty skies behind her, just all of it's Lover-esque, and that's the first album she owned, and they're just sitting there like they are in power. She's taking her ownership, she's reclaiming the land. Also in the background there are 5 birds in the sky, and 1989 cover, there's birds, seagulls on her shirt, and 1989 is her 5th album. So now we come to the coffee part. She's holding a cup of coffee and Taylor has Eras nails for the Eras tour. In between stops, she's been painting her nails different colors week to week and then goes back to the Eras nails for tour, which I love. But it's interesting because she has Eras nails in this scene for a reason. So typically when you do the nails, you're gonna have them in order, which means that 1989 ends up on this thumb and Reputation ends up on this one, so blue and black. And all that you see from her are those thumbs, which are blue and black. But they're not holding it centered, they're holding it like off center. So the blue nail is right at 8 and the black one for Reputation is at the 2. So here's where we're gonna come back to the dates that I mentioned earlier. The 8th month is August. The 2nd month is February. So her thumbs are pointing to announcement dates. Then it would line up with the 2 beginning shots of Libra and Aries. Let me explain. If she announced 1989 in August, then that would line up with the first scene where we have Libra, which falls between September and October. And then if she announced Reputation in February, that would line up with the next scene where she's in the ram mask, which represents Aries, and Aries is between March and April, giving about 2 months in between. So if you announce it in the beginning of February, release it in April, announce it in the beginning of August, released in October, and that gives us about the same timeline as we have right now for Speak Now, where she announced it in May and it's coming out in July. Then it zooms into the coffee cup and the time changes and it ticks to midnight, which is just lovely because this is on midnights and also reminded me of Coffee at Midnight, the lyric from You Are in Love from 1989. Whew. I probably missed a lot of things, or there are probably some things that I don't have knowledge of. So if you do and you can fill me in on those, that would be great. That's what I came up with for the karma Easter eggs. So I hope you liked my video and come back for more.